Hey, everybody. Welcome to Meddkit's Provider Spotlight, where every week we are interviewing all different private practices from all over the United States. Every week we have someone new, different specialty, and a new perspective, most importantly. I think in all corners of healthcare, there's always something new to be shared, and that's what we do here every week. And so today I want to introduce you to a really awesome special guest. We have for you Dr. Sam Johnson, who is the owner of Walnut Creek Audiology. Welcome, Dr. Sam.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we are excited to dive in with you. We're excited to hear a little bit more about your specialty and what you do. But first, I would love to hear, and I think what kind of gets everyone going and excited about is kind of learning more about you. What is your origin story? What had inspired you to open up this amazing practice?
Sure. Yeah, so I've been in this field for over a decade now, and I have worked in large chains. I've worked in hospital settings with ENT, private practice, and I think the large thing for me is, these large corporations, the chains, the hospitals, they shrink down appointment times. They expect you to meet certain things in order to maximize profit. But generally, the corners that get cut end up being the actual part that we enjoy, taking care of patients. So having my own practice, I'm able to make sure we invest in good technology, training, seminars, equipment, and really it comes down to maximizing the patient's value for what you get. Um, and it really just ends up helping long term for the patients.
I agree. That's why we love private practices so much. When we can focus on giving great patient care and that quality care, right, the world is a better place. And so we're all healthier, we're all better for it. So really love your philosophy. In terms, I mean, it may be quite obvious to some people, about what you do, but what would you say are the most common areas that you might address or find people struggling with today?
Yeah, I think as an audiologist, hearing is one of our biggest areas that we address. So hearing loss, more specifically, a lot of times patients come in with concerns whether are they losing hearing or I'm noticing trouble in certain areas. Tinnitus is another one we see pretty regularly, which is ringing in the ears. It could be various different sounds, but those are the two that make up probably 90% of our day to day. And it's interesting, with hearing loss, a lot of times people think it's just the ear, but really it comes down to helping overall hearing health care. So we look at untreated hearing loss and what are the comorbidities. So depression, anxiety, social isolation, ER risk, ER visits, fall risk, and recent studies talking about cognitive decline and dementia actually being a comorbidity or are correlated with untreated hearing loss. So it really comes down to more of an overall health factor versus just making things louder.
Yeah, I feel like well, obviously everything is connected. But it's interesting to hear that the way you are developing, even in a small person, small child, and how hearing loss, as I have read, can affect, their development and, all those things. But yeah, ringing in the ears. Like it's a lot more than just turning up the volume for people. And I think it's a really good to call that attention because we may not be thinking, oh, this is going to affect me in the future. I may be annoyed that I can't hear something right now, and I may say what all the time. But it could lead to something that is more permanent or more damaging in the future if you don't take care of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times we also hear people say, well, it's okay if I don't hear it, but they don't understand the impact it has on loved ones or friends. So I think that's another.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So exactly why we do this new perspective. First time anyone has said that. Yes, your hearing loss or other things, and your agita with it might affect other people that are close to you. And so it may not always be, it is about your health, but also you love the people around you. And if they may have an opinion about that. Amazing. Yeah, that's a really good perspective. Speaking about your perspective and the way you work with folks, how would you say your approach is different? You've mentioned a couple of really strong points already, but what else would you say about your approach? It's really different than other audiologists.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a simple approach. It's you start at the basics, you talk to people, you listen to them. We provide an open space for patients to tell us what their concerns are.
Mm.
You know, going from a large clinic to a small private practice, we have time to listen to what their needs are and we don't say give us your top two priorities. We can list 20 priorities and we can go through each one. So we start with a detailed case history, we do a very detailed exam, and we provide a lot of education.
Mm.
I think a lot of times people don't understand, they don't know what they don't know. So giving them the platform of better understanding what's going on and giving them answers can really help them better understand how to move forward with it, whether it be tinnitus management, hearing loss, hearing aids, whatever it may be. And then we follow all best practices. So we're not cutting corners, we are doing everything to a T. And
Yeah,
that
I
sounds good.
love that. I think, a common phrase that I often catch myself saying is more with me. And the more information that you can give, the more I can help you make the best educated decision, give you all the ways that you could do something. And then once that other person has that information, they can do what they please, but they know it. There's multiple paths perhaps on how to do something. So I love that you have spent so much time with your patients to explore, every option with them and no question or item that they're concerned about is too small.
Exactly. And
Yep.
a phrase I use often is I'm a navigator, I'm not the driver. So I guide people, they get to make their decisions.
Smart. I love that. I love that. There's a particular topic that I really love talking about on here. It's really fun, I think, one personally for me, but I think for everyone that, is seeking out, new providers or they might have a certain connotation with what that person might do. So there's a lot of just misconceptions in general in healthcare. And I think with every specialty, I think some maybe are prone more to others, but I think people just decide to form opinions about things, or this is what this is. And then Google and maybe ChatGPT don't help in that path. They could be helpful in some cases, but you can't believe everything that you read online. So in that vein, Dr. Sam, what are some of the misconceptions that people might have about, what you do?
Uh-huh.
Maybe questions that you receive on a daily basis that you're like, man, if the whole world knew this, that type of thing.
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the biggest misconceptions that we get has to do with hearing aids specifically.
Mm.
So, a lot of times people think a hearing aid just makes things louder, and that a hearing aid from Clinic A is the same from Clinic B. And I think the best analogy I have for this kind of demonstration is I have a circular saw, I can cut wood, but a carpenter who may have a worse quality saw will cut a straighter line than me. The
Mm.
hearing aid is a tool. The tool is very important. The tools have gotten very good, but without proper care, you may be missing out a lot of benefit. So a
Yeah.
lot of times people will go to large chains that, cost may be cheaper, but their outcomes are going to be worse.
Yeah.
So really it comes down to, with hearing aids specifically, finding a good provider you have open communication with and who knows what they're doing to make sure you get the best outcome.
That is a really good point. Yeah, I think that is really common. And there's definitely things that I've heard and, down the grapevine about, hearing aids and where you go and all these things. So I'm really glad that you had brought that up because it is important to go to the right kind of provider that is going to set you up in the right way, I'd say. Awesome. And kind of to round things out today and kind of a final question here, two-prong surprise. Very, very fun though. What common advice, tips or tricks, if you will, that you would give to existing clients today? And then the second part of that is also advice driven, being a great leader in private practice. What pro tips can you give other private practice owners that might be listening on here, something that has been really valuable to you and your business, something, whether it's a value, whether it's a piece of technology that you're using every single day that you love, or any other type of pro tip, I
Yeah.
think that would be amazing.
Well, I'll start with the for the patients. Oftentimes if a loved one brings in a patient of mine, they always ask, "Hey, I've never had my hearing tested. When should I get it tested?"
Mhm,
And usually what I tell people is just get it tested.
mhm.
You want to have your ears checked before there's a problem. The reason being, people come in and say, "Well, what happened to my hearing? How did I lose it?" And without having a baseline, most of the time we have suspicions, but we don't have definitive answers, and we don't know where you've been. So I think getting a hearing check before your hearing tested, before you experience problems, can help lead to better outcomes.
Yeah.
If you do need hearing aids, again, find a trusted provider and
Yep.
make sure you have open communication. And it's important to wear them. A lot of times people wear hearing aids part-time and they get part-time benefits, which is not as good as full-time. So we have to let our brain adapt. And if your brain doesn't adapt to hearing aids, it's usually because you're not wearing them enough. As
I
far as,
love-
sorry.
No, I love it. Full-time and part-time benefits. There is a difference.
Yeah. And then as far as providers go, and for people looking to get into any realm, I think looking at other industries can be really helpful. So I've looked at like optometry, what they've done in some aspects, psychology, and letting you rethink certain philosophies that you've kind of stayed steadfast on.
Mhm.
Do a deep dive into why you think that. Oftentimes, when we look back, we can see different pathways that might lead to better outcomes. So looking in behind doors that nobody else looks at might be pretty beneficial.
I love it. I think quite very good advice today on the podcast. I think lots of people can, go home, write their notes down and start on some of these things today. If you're, whether you're in private practice or maybe a 2B patient or you need hearing aids, maybe now is louder for people in the back, the time to get started and time to get seen by the right person. And with speaking of seeing the right person, Dr. Sam, if you can let everyone know to end off today where folks can reach out to you, whether it's a provider that wants to network with you, wants to start maybe a referral relationship, or a person that is nearby that would love to chat with you about maybe their sudden hearing loss, hearing aids, or lots of ringing ears.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. And the best place to reach us, we're located in Walnut Creek, California. Our website is www.walnutcreekaudiology.com. And you can email me directly at Dr. Sam, DRSAM, at walnutcreekaudiology.com. We also have a Facebook group under Walnut Creek Audiology, and we're ear for you. It's a bad word.
I love it. I'm all for the dad jokes. I love it. We are here for you too. And we thank you so much for being here, Dr. Sam. This has been really, really fun, and we hope to have you on again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was a riot.
Same.